Hi guys, Luke here, SimBoxx. Delighted tonight to be joined by a good friend of SimBoxx in Osh Williams. Osh, how are we doing?
We're back. Yeah, mate, it's good. It's good to be back chatting to you again. It's been a long time. I think it must be almost I was trying to work it out, almost 2 years I've chatted to you guys. Obviously, we've kept in touch and I'm looking at the stuff you guys are doing, and yeah, it's good to be back having a chat, definitely.
Absolutely, it's much appreciated, Osh. And I think it's interesting to think that I was there for an interview before the professional debut, the official professional debut of Osh Williams.
Yeah,
And here we are on fight
yeah.
week ahead of what you're saying is the last dance.
Yeah, another last dance. The last the last dance until the next dance. No, yeah, I got a reminder. I got something came up the other day on social media. That must be almost 3 years ago now. We first met. Good times. That was down at Kieran's gym, wasn't it? The People's Gym. That seems like a lifetime ago now. Some of the best years of my life looking back. But yeah, to be honest with you, since then I had a bit of a break over COVID. I had 2 years out, as did most people. And then, sort of on accident, I got back into the boxing. I joined up with Ryan Mack down at Mack's gym and as a coach. And an opportunity came to have a fight. And here we are, 4 fights later. But yeah, last one this Saturday. I'm the main event. I'm in my hometown. It's the first time I've ever been main event, and it's my 56th fight, my last fight, fight number 56. And I'm excited, mate. I'm excited. Good to go.
Yeah, Osh, so what we'll do is we'll start at the end if you like, and we'll work our way back. So as you say, you're headlining this weekend. A special moment at headlining in your hometown. It's been a storied journey. You've been up here in the northwest of England, back down in Wales, and
Yeah.
pretty much everywhere in between. Why now, Wash? Why is it coming into an end now after you say 55 fights, 56 on
Yeah.
Saturday? Is it? I think this is the third or the fourth under the that's going to go on your record. So why now?
I think for me personally, I've done the amateurs, I did the pros, I've done the unlicensed. I just feel I'm 31, 32 soon. And I've done it for a long time. People forget I've done this from a very young age. I think some people go, oh, 32 years old. Yeah, like that's right. But, I had my first fight when I was 6 or 7 years old. Do you know what I mean? I've had a couple of breaks here and there. Never a long-term break. Like 2 years COVID was probably the longest I had outside the ring. And it's the camps and what I've got out of boxing. And as much as I love boxing, I feel now I'd like to go out on a high. I'd like to go out on my best. Like one of my worst nightmares is losing to someone I should never have lost to. Do you know what I mean? And I think there's certain things now my body can't do what my head wants it to. And I think I'm always, you know me, Luke, I've always been very honest with myself. And I know in my heart of hearts, I've reached the pinnacle of what I can do. And as much as I've loved boxing, boxing doesn't define who I am. There's more to me than just boxing and other things that I want to do. I don't think when I stopped boxing professionally, I don't think that was the right time for me. Although now in my life, I just feel like now is the perfect time. But it's like my mum said. She said, because I always come back to boxing. I always say, oh, it's my last fight, and I end up coming back. She always said, like, he's chasing a high that he'll never find. Do you know what I mean? And it's sad because I think a lot of boxers go through it. But obviously, like I touched on earlier, I'm going to be involved as a coach, and I'm going to do my best as a coach and put everything into coaching as I did as a fighter. So
Yeah,
that's the plan.
absolutely. Absolutely. We'll
That's the
touch
plan.
on what's next after boxing as we move on. But this is headlining a huge card. I think is it some boxing, some kickboxing. It's
Yeah.
16, 17 fights or something like that on the card. So
Yeah,
what a way to go out as a headline act.
exactly. Without exaggeration, I think it's the biggest fight card we've had in North Wales ever. So for me to be headlining that show, it's I'm absolutely. It was an opportunity I never thought I'd get, and I'll be honest with you, Luke. I've been on cards before, and I thought, wow, I deserve to be the main event on this, and for one reason or another, ticket sales, politics, whatever, it's not happened for me. So here we are, and it's finally happening. Like I've never been a big ticket seller. People I speak to, that was the main reason I stopped boxing as a professional because that ticket game was a hard game, and I was struggling with the tickets. Like this time round, I've sold the most tickets I've ever sold. I've almost sold 100 tickets. I probably will do 100 or over come the fight night. So yeah, for me, it's nice to be the draw. I do feel like the card is stacked with great fighters, 50-50 fights throughout. And I do feel like it's nice to be recognised as the main event on such a quality card. You were at the M22 promotion show, weren't you?
Yep.
You
Yep.
came to that. And I remember I was watching Marcus Morrison, who's a lovely fella, fight for the British title the other day. And like I was on the same card as Marcus, on the same card as Sam Hyde. Great names on that card, you know, and I just remember thinking, wow, I've made it, I've arrived, and I feel privileged to be on this card again. You know, I'm very, very fortunate to get everything that I've got out of boxing. Like I was speaking to my mum the other day, and I always promised my mum I'd be a millionaire and I'd buy her a house on Millionaires Row, and it's not worked out that way. I'll probably have to rob a bank or something, mate. But, I'm happy with everything I've achieved, and there's no more that I want to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to hear that you're satisfied like that, Osh. Just a quick disclaimer for anyone watching: Osh isn't actually going to go and rob a bank. Put them
No,
999
man.
calls down.
Nah, not no time soon. Anyway, nah, best behaviour.
You mentioned there about the M22 Promotions card. Let's just touch on that for a second. And I remember speaking to you around that time again, like both on camera and off camera, Osh. And I got the sense, the energy from you that you was almost like a fan with a pair of gloves, if you like. You knew your worth and you knew you was part of the card, but you was like kind of taking it in that Joe Gallagher was there and Marcus Morrison and Sam Hyde, and you was almost like the little boy in you, the boxing fan from being a kid was coming out of you there. That it was almost like that was a box ticked back then.
Anyone who knows me, like, one of my hobbies and something I love to do is I love to talk. When I'm not boxing, I'm a good talker, and I've done a couple of podcasts, and like I talk about how I literally watched Ringside when that used to be on TV. Don't know if you remember it or if I'm just old now, but Ringside used to be on a Thursday night, and I saw Oliver Harrison's gym on TV, and it was Oliver Harrison, Martin Murray, Derry Matthews, Amir Khan, Jamie Moore, Rocky Fielding, a who's who of British boxing. I looked at it on TV and I went, wow, that's the gym I want to be at. And that was on the Thursday night. On the Monday, I was training at Oliver Harrison's gym. Like that was the mentality I had. So I think I was always a fan. Like I was watching people on TV, and then all of a sudden I went from watching these people on TV to sparring them or training alongside them. It was a bit surreal. But I'm always proud because it was the ambition in me that made me get up and go, I'm going to do that. I don't care. And I might have been a bit naive at the time. I think I was 18 years old and thought, yeah, I'm ready. And I wasn't nearly ready, but Oliver Harrison, bless him, looked after me. And I think that always stuck with me. But I think even when I was on the M22 Promotions card, we did an interview. I think you were there. And I sat there and I had Marcus here, Sam Hyde there, Joe Gallagher there, and I was like, wow, the last time I seen these guys was on telly. And then I was sparring Anthony Crolla, like before his last fight, the last dance, as it were. And and it was just a massive, surreal experience for me. And I think I was always in that fan mode. But looking back, I think now I appreciate myself as a fighter more and how good I was and how good I am. Because I think I was always like almost, wow, these guys are this, these guys that. I belong there. Do you know what I mean? I belonged on those cards. I belonged in those interviews. I was more than good enough to be there. And that's a proud moment for me, yeah, to be mentioned in the same breath as such good fighters.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned there that you knew yourself that you was good enough to be around. And there's a lot of highs, we'll speak on them. Well, actually, was there ever a regret that you didn't turn pro earlier or make more of a goal as a pro, maybe?
I look back and I wish I turned pro when I was with Oliver Harrison. Because at the time, I think it was just a brilliant gym. It was good energy. I trained well with, I must have been about 24, 25. And I remember speaking to Martin Murray about it, and he turned pro when he was 24. What a career he had. And for personal reasons, more than anything, I moved to another part of Manchester, had a break from boxing. Be honest with you, went off the rails a little bit, mate, and lost focus for a while. Didn't train. Went from a couple of different amateur gyms in Manchester and Greater Manchester and never really settled. Never really put that same work ethic in that I had with Oliver Harrison. And I was doing very well at Oliver's at the time. So that's on me. Do I regret that? No, because I was a different human being at 24 than I was when I finally turned pro at 27, 28. I was more of a man ready for it, I think. So I don't regret that. Do I look back? I think when I was really struggling to sell tickets, Luke. As you know, we had this discussion another time, and for me, it was weighing up how far I could go, and I weighed it up. I thought, how good can I be? And I thought, if I work really, really hard and I hang about, I can maybe win a Welsh title, which isn't massive money, isn't life changing money. And it wasn't about the money for me, but it was just, do I wish I'd maybe won a Welsh title? It would have been nice. I watched Gavin Gwynn the other day defending his British title. And I remember being on the same card and the amateurs as these people. I was on the same card as a lot of good amateurs when I was growing up and stuff who I was right there with them, mate, at the time. But no, it's my question. I don't regret anything. Like, I've done some good things. I've done some bad things. I don't regret a thing, mate. No, no. I never have. Like, I was having this discussion with someone the other day, and like, boxing's a mad sport. And during my time in boxing, like, I've fallen out with family, I've fallen out with friends, I've had relationships go to pot. And you know what, mate? I would not change a fucking thing. Sorry, language, but I wouldn't change a thing, mate. No, I wouldn't. I'm passionate about who I am and what I did, and no is the answer, I think. Yeah.
It's a fantastic attitude to have. And Osh, I struggle to keep things in order because there is a few things that we want to chat about. But you mentioned Gavin Gwynn recently defending that British title. I think it's a fantastic time for Welsh boxing. You got stuff like the white collar and the unlicensed, but on the pro scene, it's Gavin Gwynn, British champion, Jerome Warburton, Welsh champion, Sean Yaxley training at Joe Gallagher's, and then Liam Williams brought Chris Eubank down to Cardiff not too long ago. It's a fantastic time to be a Welsh boxer and to be a part of boxing in Wales.
Yeah, definitely. Historically, it's always been South Wales, but obviously you touched on it then. Jerome, Sean, Yaxley, myself when I was a pro, and obviously still boxing now. You've got Ryan Mack coming through. Like, there's so many good. There's Liam Taylor, another lad who's fantastic. There's a lot of good kids coming through from North Wales now. Finally, it always baffled me because, and this is what I want to do long term. So for me, when I was living in North Wales all those years ago, over 10 years ago, I had to move from Wales to Manchester to pursue my dream because there was no way I could do what I wanted to do living in Wales. What I want to do is, in a couple of years' time, me and Ryan have got the gym and people can chase their dream on their own doorstep rather than do. I don't regret what I did. I wouldn't be the fighter I did. I loved Manchester. Manchester's my second home. It's my favourite city. It always will be. And I had some amazing times, met some incredible people, and I've had a mad life because of Manchester boxing. So I wouldn't change a thing. But people can chase their dreams on their own doorstep, and that's important to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic attitude.
It is. I had to do a lot of it myself looking back, and it was hard. And when I went off the rails, mate, like, I wish I would have had someone to go, hang on a minute, Osh, you're going to blow it. Do you know what I mean? Hang on a second, you're going to do. Do you know what I mean? I didn't really have that because I was so obsessed with doing everything myself. And Oliver, tried to speak to me, and I just wasn't in the right frame of mind at that time to be. I wish I was the person I am now at 24. But I suppose we all wish that, don't we?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's life, and mistakes define us. And like I say, I wouldn't change any of the mistakes that made me.
Yeah, brilliant positive attitude. And that leads nicely into the next point I was going to bring up, which is I see, via your social media, you train very hard and you got into great shape for the last dance this weekend. But in general, Osh, how important is the sport of boxing for you in terms of your mental health and keeping on the straight and narrow and keeping dedicated to something and putting your all into it, both physically and mentally? Just how important of an aspect of your life is boxing for that side of things?
Yeah, I can't stress enough. But in terms of getting in shape for this fight, I've trained harder for this fight than I ever did for any fight, including my pro fights. And I think in my head, I knew because it's the last time. Do you know what I mean? I knew that. So I've trained really hard. There's some before and after pics, and I got in great shape. So I've worked my ass off. So yeah. Going back to the mental health question, like it falls nicely because the weekend just been, I was having a really bad weekend for one reason or another. And I just said to myself, you know what? I'm going to go down the gym and So I just went down there off the bat, did about 10 rounds in the bag, and I sparred an old friend, and I felt amazing. Um, Anyone who knows me as a person, I'm all or nothing, Luke. I always have been. Like, if I'm not in the gym, I'm not on my best behavior. I'm out. I'm eating the wrong food. I'm doing the wrong things. I've always been a bit like that. Boxing's always been that high for me that I've needed to like stay on the straight and narrow, and that's why after boxing, I have to focus on being a good coach and being a good role model and not going off the rails because other people depend on me now. Other people depend on me. Do you know what I mean? I've got my missus, I've got my family, I've got my friends, and I can't be selfish no more. And I've promised my family that I'm gonna stay on the straight and narrow. And boxing has kept me like that for so long. It's the only thing that keeps me going. And every fighter will tell you the same. And one of my favorite fighters was Michael Gomez. And when I listen to Michael speak, I always think, wow, like that's what I'm like. Do you know what I mean? I think that's where I've had to like rein it in and behave. But in terms of mental health, it's the best thing for you. Like I've had some really bad times, really down times, and boxing's got me through. Like, and that's why I'll continue to train for the rest of my life, mate. Whether I fight or not, I'll always train. I think because it just keeps me motivated and keeps me happy. And I bet every person you speak to, man or woman, would say exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing.
Brilliant to hear, mate. So, with this being the last fight, you say 55, 56 fights, it'll be on Saturday.
Yeah.
Have you envisaged that ring walk for the last time? That the lacing your gloves, lacing your boots, all the ring checks and everything.
Yeah.
Have you visualized that for the last time that this is going to be it?
Yeah, I can't think about it too much because I get a bit emotional, mate. I get a bit sad. Like, I do think I know I'll be like it'll be an emotional night for me. Um, but it's the right time. It's the right thing to do. It's right by me. It's right by my family. I promised me Nana, who's my world, that it's the last time. And yeah, I have envisaged it. I have visualized it. I visualized every fight. Like I say, it will be hard, but it'll be. I truly believe it'll be my best performance, and I want to go out. People saying, "Wow, you know that Osh Williams, he was one hell of a fighter, man." Do you know what I mean? He was a good fighter, and he always come, he always trained, he always give it his all, and he was always entered. Like I've never been in a bad fight. I've never been in a bad fight. I've always been in good fights. I've got an exciting style, and I see it only being another exciting fight on Saturday. And I think the place will be. I'd love it, mate, if you could come down. Like if you do get the opportunity, I know it's a trek for you. Come down. It's going to be bedlam in there. It's going to be absolute carnage, mate. And I can't wait for. I love the chaos of it. I love organized chaos and being in there. And when leather starts flying, that's when I come alive. It really is. There's no feeling like it. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think you've sold it to me there, man. Absolutely.
I'm a good salesman. I'm a good salesman.
Yeah, absolutely. So, moving forward from Saturday, you've touched on it loosely already, but what's the plan, Osh? You're going to stick in the gym? Are you thinking training? Are you thinking just, like your personal training that you've been doing, sessions like that? Or are
Yeah.
you thinking you're getting stuck into the nitty gritty of training fighters, maybe to go on and be professional because you've got that experience behind you? What is the plan?
I will train myself, keep myself fit, keep myself active, keep myself healthy and focused. I think that's important. But I want to get into the nitty gritty of I want to be a top coach. I want to be a top coach. And like you say, I've got that experience, a little bit of experience. I know how the boxing game works. Like I'm in a good position where not many people can say, like, I was an elite amateur. People forget that I was a very good amateur. I was a good professional. I've done the unlicensed. Obviously, I'm good on this circuit. Like I've done every aspect of boxing. I can see it from every single business aspect. I do genuinely believe that I've got a vast amount of knowledge that I can pass on. And you know what? Not only that, I'm still learning. I'm still learning every day as a fighter. I'm still learning every day as a trainer. I've got a lot of contacts. I was down at Bolton the other day with an old friend of Alex Matvienko and Phil Robinson. They're doing a brilliant job down at Bolton. Alex, of course, another one of the Oliver Harrison breeds as a fighter, now doing things as a coach. I'm surrounded. I work with Ryan closely every day, who I learn off, and I'm fortunate enough to be picking things up and learning on the job every day. And I'm excited to keep learning. I'm excited to keep learning and keep getting better. And yeah, obviously, I'd love to churn out a couple of champions, a couple of pros. That's another dream and another milestone for me now. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's exciting to hear, and we will be following that closely in the years to come, Osh. But moving on from the last fight and from your career in general, to be honest, we will touch on a couple of questions at the end. But I just want to get your thoughts on a couple of things going on in the world of boxing at the minute, and the big fight on the tip of everyone's tongue is, of course, Chris Eubank against Conor Benn. The catch weight. Osh, as a fighter yourself, having to make weight, the first thing I want to ask is, how big of a deal do you think this will be for Chris Eubank to get down from 160 pounds to 147? You've been fighting yourself around welterweight.
Yeah.
Could you imagine having to lose another 3 pounds to go down to maybe 144? How difficult of that, from a fighter's point of view, will it be to lose that extra 3 pounds?
Yeah, it depends on what you want to believe, because they're the king of, they're very good at the media side of it. The Eubanks, aren't they? Little games and mind games and stuff. I genuinely believe Chris Eubank Jr. is very much like his dad, and I think he's a true professional. And I don't think he balloons up in weight. He seems to always look in good shape. I genuinely believe he'll come in that weight. He's even mentioned before about doing like middleweight long before this fight was even discussed. So they must believe they can do their weight. And like I say, I think he fights at he's middleweight. I know he's been up to super middleweight. I reckon he walks around at 168. And I reckon he'll do that weight comfortably. Like I'm, to be honest with you, on the boxing side of it, in terms of watching it, I do watch all the fights, but there's very few people I enjoy watching. I love watching Conor Benn. I love watching him. I love watching him. I do think I would have liked to have seen him fight for a British title or something like that, because I do feel like he's fought some well-known names, but no disrespect, I feel like they've all been on the slide, or they've all been coming up in weight to meet Conor Benn, and Conor Benn looks like a very strong welterweight to me. I do think it's a bit of a mismatch in terms of, I do think Chris will be too strong for him, but I think it's a win-win for Conor. He loses, so what? He lost to the bigger man. He wins. Wow, great win. Chris Eubank Jr. on the other hand, it's, he wins. Wow, he beat the smaller man, and he loses. Do you know what I mean? I think there's no pressure on Conor Benn, is there? And they're both presumably making decent money for it, I'd imagine. But am I a fan of the catchweight fights? No. Will I watch that fight? Absolutely. So yeah, that's it, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as boxing fans, as proper boxing fans, there's no way we can't buy into the nostalgic element of it, of Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr., and the dad's Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn. I think it's so unique. And we kind of talk about this in the way you talk about like Muhammad Ali fighting Mike Tyson, that fights that could happen, and the fact that it's actually happening in our time and in front of our faces.
Yeah.
I think it's so unique that you can't help but buy into it. It's almost got like a WWF style appeal to it. That it's a freak show almost.
I was talking to someone in the gym today about Chris Eubank Sr. and those days, and they were too, like, that was. I'm not sure we'll ever get that sort of level of. Well, we've had some great fights over the years, but that was genuine hatred. They both hated each other. They both despised each other. And yeah, I think it's very nostalgic, this fight. I think from what I'm seeing on social media, I think a lot of casual boxing fans are looking forward to it more than the hardcore boxing fans. I think a lot of the hardcore boxing fans think Chris Eubank is going to walk through him. I'm not sure about that, but I think it goes. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens after 6 or 7 rounds. I do think Conor Benn is bang up for it, and I think I saw he was sparring with Felix Cash the other day. That's perfect preparation. That perfect preparation. I thought that's a savvy move. I know they're stable mates, but I'd forgot Felix was in that gym, and that's a savvy move. But I will watch that fight, and I think there's some good fights about at the moment, and that's one of them. I'll watch it anyway, yeah. But I think it's Chris Eubank for me, yeah.
We look forward to that. You mentioned there about casual boxing fans and hardcore boxing fans. Osh, where do you sit on the whole YouTube boxing scene? I know it's quite a broad question because there seems to be so many different facets of YouTube boxing at the minute, but take away Jake Paul, because he seems to be trying to be an actual boxer. But in general, he likes the KSI and whatnot. Where do you sit with this YouTube stuff?
So myself personally, this is how I feel about it. So myself, obviously, I was a professional boxer. I was trying to sell tickets and trying to do that, and you dedicate your life to your craft and you don't make no money. That's hard. And then when you see someone who doesn't put that work in, but they've got a name on YouTube and they have a fight and they make a wad of cash, part of you is a bit like it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, but at the same time, I'm not bitter about it. I think good on him. Like if they're making money out of boxing, go on, mate. You know, you make money out of boxing. Anyone who makes decent money out of boxing, I tip my hat off to them, mate, because it's a tough sport. I don't care who you are, what you do. Would I prefer the likes of the, because I know myself, like when I was a professional boxer, I had a full-time job. I was training before 9 to 5, going to the gym on my lunch break, training after work. It's hard, mate. And so many people are doing it. Like people don't understand. They watch TV and they watch Sky Sports and they go, wow, he must be making loads of money. What they don't realize is that lad is probably going to work on Monday to do his full-time job to support his family because there's not enough boxing money in boxing at the lower professional level. So most people aren't doing it as a full-time job. Most people have got other jobs, unless you're an Olympian or you're signed to Matchroom Sport or whoever. You've got a full-time job. So I would rather see those lads making the money, obviously, for obvious reasons. I'm sure most people would feel the same. Am I bitter and angry when I see YouTubers making money? No, I suppose it's a niche market and people are buying into it. And that's the way we're going now with boxing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting that you say there that, unless you sign to Matchroom or whatnot, you're not really making the big money. But a guy that's fighting this weekend on the DAZN card in Maxi Hughes, when he won the IBO world title, I know it's a
Oh, yeah.
world title, but after he won that fight last year, he was back on the tools. He was on the building site on the Monday after winning a version of a world title.
It's mad, isn't it? That's probably another conversation with us about world champions because I actually think that IBO title holds more clout than the likes of the WBA and stuff now, to be honest with you, mate. But yeah, in terms of, yeah, that's crazy. Like, how crazy is that? You're fighting in front of, thousands of people live on Sky Sports and then you're back on the tools on Monday. But I think people, because what they do is they go to the pub or they're watching TV at home and they're watching Man United on TV and then the boxing's on. I think they put two and two together to make five. Do you know what I mean? And they just think, oh, right, they must make good money because they're on Sky Sports. Like, until you've become a professional boxer and you see what goes on behind the scenes in terms of your money and how you make your money, there's not much money in it. So, yeah, I think that was why, for me, I was weighing up my options and weighing certain things up. But I would prefer to see these lower level professionals who put their heart and soul into it, because there's so many good boxers out there who could make it to the very, very top, and their heart goes, mate. Their heart goes out of it because they're there and they're at a loss and they're not making money and they lose the love for it. Do you know what I mean?
I think the
It's like,
perfect example of that is the name you mentioned earlier, Michael Gomez, one of the most
yeah,
talented boxers to come out of the Northwest. And, unfortunately had his troubles out of the ring. But if he had the right guidance, the right career guidance, and if boxing had been what it is now, maybe he would have been a superstar because the talent was certainly there.
yeah. I think he was the best fighter. I think he's one of the best to ever come out of Manchester. Honestly, I'm very biased. I'm a massive fan of Michael Gomez for more than one reason, not just his boxing, just who he is and where he's come from, and massive respect. And his son's doing really well now, which is nice to see. But yeah, I think having that guidance and that support, and that's another thing. Like these top boys, like you go to the Olympics, like it always makes me laugh because you see these Olympians and like these Olympians, these people's like, I watch it. When people say, "Oh, professional boxers shouldn't be in the Olympics," and I don't think boxing's going to be the next Olympics, unfortunately, but that's another story. But in terms of that, I always think, well, these lads in Team GB, they train 3 times a day and they train 6 days a week. Like they train more than most professionals. People don't realize that these guys don't have jobs. They're not like myself and other fighters who have got full-time jobs and they're fitting in training around life and around their kids and around their missus and around all the other crap that goes with it. These guys are training like professionals, if not more than professionals. But people don't see that, do they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
People
that's an
don't see
interesting point there with, and it's a conversation that's come up recently about Olympians and the way they train and they're at Team GB and they're up in Sheffield and then they turn pro. They've been to the Olympics, they might even medal, then they turn pro and they go on to fight guys with losing records. And you're kind of like, well, you're already at that level. And Gamal
yeah.
Yafai recently, he medaled and then I think he fought for a version of an international title in his debut fight. That's kind of the path that they should be choosing. But I think sometimes, like you say, it's interesting to see that they have this kind of stock, this pedigree, but then when they turn pro,
Yeah.
they go right back to the beginning again, where almost they should be carrying on where they left off. that make sense?
That's it. 100%. I think Lomachenko was the first one actually to actually done the Olympics, and then I think in his second or third fight fought for a world title. But surely all these top boys should be doing that anyway. Like for me, like these boys in the GB, the top lads, surely they're British title level, or if not British title level, not far off it. Do you know what I mean? I get it's a different sport, and I get like you're doing the 3 3-minute rounds, and then you're going to do your 10 threes. I get that, but I think they should at least be going into 6 rounders with lads who have got maybe a 50-50 record.
Yeah, like, I think Fraser Clark recently, he was a good example of what we're talking about here. I think it was bronze medal at the Olympics,
yeah,
and pro, and even himself after his most recent knockout win on the boxer card, he was complaining, saying, why are they putting me in with these guys? And he's there winning a bronze medal. He's sparred with the best of the best, and he's had like the amateur experience that's unparalleled. And he's turned over and he's fighting guys that are coming to lose, and it's not really advancing him. If anything, it's stalled.
No, I always do you know what? I speak about journeymen and stuff. Like I try and explain to people, and they can't grasp it. And I'll be honest with you, it's usually casual boxing fans who can't. These guys are so skilled and so tough and so good, and if they want to turn you over, they will turn you over. Like I can't stress that enough. Some of these guys are ABA champions, and they turn pro. They can't sell tickets, but they want to continue to fight. So that's what they do to make a living. Yeah. Like there's different sorts of journeymen. Like there's top level journeymen. Like I'll use Willie Warburton as an example. When he was boxing, he would have beaten most pros, I would say. He was that good. And you've got these other journeymen, like they bring in a lot of foreign imports, don't they, who maybe haven't got that same savvy style, because we're fortunate enough in Britain where we've got the good amateur pedigree, where in some of the other countries, they haven't got that. They're literally turning pro and coming as feeders, basically. They're feeding to the, for the prospects and what have you. But yeah, no, I agree. These top level guys, they should be in there with either top level journeymen or 50-50 record fighters, central area level. Do you know what I mean? That sort of level, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no one really better placed than yourself to speak on being around tough journeymen and away fighters. Being at Kieran's gym with the likes of Daryl Sharp, and up at Curtis Gargano's gym. Curtis Gargano himself was a fantastic away fighter. So yeah, I think they are the unheralded part of the sport. And again, if you're not ingrained in the sport of boxing, you don't understand the importance of these guys. That the sport wouldn't survive without them.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't support without them. Yeah, obviously Daryl Sharp was at Kieran's at the time. Kieran's had a couple of good lads there, a couple of good away fighters. Curtis has got that gym set up now. With all his lads, they're all away fighters, all fighting every weekend. It's mad, I was saying something the other day. One of the lads, I think it was the Celtic Cobra, he's fought loads this year.
Yeah, Seamus Devlin.
It was Devlin. I think he fought on the Saturday in a right barnstormer, mate. Real good fight. I thought he deserved a draw. Journeyman away fighter, he didn't get it. And then he was in the gym on Monday, mate, training again, Monday to Friday, fighting Saturday, Sunday off, back in the gym Monday. Like, surely every professional should be like that, especially when you're starting off and you're trying to work. Like, every professional should be like that. Like, so many fighters, they've like, I don't know, they think they have their fight and they do a 4-rounder and they have weeks off. Mm-hmm. They have months off, and I don't get it. Like, I always think, like, I remember my pro debut, it was on a Sunday afternoon show in Women's Short Forum M22. I fought on the Sunday. I was off on the Monday, and I was back training for my second pro fight on the Tuesday. Kieran's big show in the Bolton Stadium. So, like, but I think, I'm not saying, wow, look at me, but because I think everyone should be doing that. I think that should be a given. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, going back to the away fighters, yeah, they train flat out in that gym, and they don't get stopped much. Them lads, do you know what I mean? To be fair, they're always there. They're always ready. And if it wasn't for these journeymen, pro boxing would struggle.
Absolutely. So, Osh, you mentioned there about the importance of journeymen and away fighters, and that when you was pro, one of the struggles that you had was moving tickets and selling tickets. Was there ever a thought in your mind to go on the road and fight as an away fighter?
You know what? Financially, these lads make a lot of money. I think back then, I don't know what the going rate is now, but back then it was 1,200 for a 4-rounder. You're doing that every week. You're making a lot of money. Then you're doing your 6-rounder, your 10-rounder. It's good money if you want to do it. I think you have to put your ego to one side because I've heard some stories, and I won't name people and stuff, um, where like they've known they've known in their heart of hearts they can beat that person in the other corner, but they choose not to. And I don't think I could ever do that. I think my ego is maybe too big. Do you know what I mean? Some mad stories like about journeymen. I've heard them being on big TV shows, and they've turned lads over, fought on the same show the weekend after, and been told if they do it again, they won't work again. And it's just, this is the sport we live in. It's crazy, but yeah, for me, I don't think I could do it. I think if I thought I could beat someone, I'd be beating them. Um, but that's just me. But then again, luckily, fortunately, I've been in an okay position where financially I've not had to do it. And some of these lads, they just love to fight and they love to box, as do I. And they want to carry on boxing, but they just don't want the aggro of selling the tickets. They want to turn up, fight, and go home. And good on him. Good on him, man.
Absolutely. We're talking about big fights that are happening or rumoured to be happening. Arguably the biggest of them all, Osh, could be going down December 3rd. Tyson Fury has come out. He's called out Anthony Joshua. We all thought it was a pipe dream, something that we was never going to see coming to fruition. It seemed that time and time again it was on the verge of happening and it was falling apart for one reason or another. But it seems that this is real. We don't want to jump the gun. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, Osh. But just how exciting of a prospect is that on December 3rd that Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua are finally going to get it on?
It's exciting. It's definitely exciting. Again, I'm sat on the fence. I'm not getting too ahead of myself. Do you know what? That Anthony Joshua, yeah, that Usyk fight. I thought he improved a lot, and I thought he changed and adapted, got himself a new coach. That guy gets some stick, and I'm not sure why. Like the only thing it can possibly be is jealousy, because he's done a lot for British boxing, And do you know what? I'm a massive fan of Tyson Fury. I'm a massive fan of Anthony Joshua, but I see so much negativity towards Anthony Joshua, and I can't quite get my head around it. But there we go. I think it's an interesting fight, and I think it's a closer fight than Joshua Usyk. Do I think he beats Fury? No, but do I think it's a better fight for him stylistically? Yes, I do. I'd like to see that fight. I'd love to see a couple of heavyweight fights. I'd love to see Wilder against Dylan White, just for the press conferences alone. I think would be hilarious. I think it'd be brilliant. And I'd love to see Deontay Wilder against Usyk. I think that's a great fight. Both two fights I'd like to see. I think we've got a good fight this weekend. Who have we got this weekend? Parker against Joyce.
Yep.
That's an interesting fight. I'm a fan of Joyce. Like, it's weird with Joyce. Like, to watch him, you don't think he's anything special, but he seems to grind people down and get the job done. He's big, he's strong, he's fit. He's getting on a bit, so he needs to put his foot on the gas. But it's an interesting fight against Parker, who's a good, fast fighter. He's fast for heavyweight. He moves well for heavyweight. Is his style all wrong for Joyce? I don't know, but I think it's a good fight that I'm interested to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's a great fight. In terms of Deontay Wilder, it seems that he's got his comeback fight against Hellenius. There was talk that he might have retired. I think only my opinion, Osh, and you can share your opinion in a second. But I think Deontay Wilder's got a place in that heavyweight division. He was soundly beaten by Fury a couple of times. But there's still some big fights out there, as you say, Dillian White, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder at one point was the biggest fight in boxing that we never got. So there's plenty of big fights out there for Deontay Wilder, Usyk, as you mentioned. So he's definitely a welcome return to the heavyweight picture.
Look, I agree completely. He's fun to watch, isn't he? No matter what people say about him, he's fun to watch. And no matter who he fights, he's always got a puncher's chance. He hits dangerously hard. Do you know what I mean? He's the biggest puncher in boxing. He has to be. And if he hits you, it's game over. Obviously, Fury's got a hell of a chin, took some great shots. It makes you think he's one of them on. I thought a couple of times Joshua maybe had Usyk hurt in there a couple of times, maybe to watch it. He hit it well and came back well, don't get wrong. But If he takes some shots by Wilder, is he getting back for them? I don't know. But yeah, I think he's definitely got a place in that division. I think outside world title fights, White against Wilder is the best fight out there because they're both chinny bangers. They both hit hard. They can both be hit. It's exciting. That's got excitement written all over it. The Helenius fight, I get it as a comeback fight. Am I excited about that fight? Not really. I don't think I've ever seen Helenius in a good fight except when he fought Dylan White, when Dylan White was massively out of shape and it turned out to be a decent scrap, but in Eddie Hearn's garden. Other than that, I've never seen him in a good fight. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I like that term you coined there, Osh, the chinny bangers. Guys
Yeah,
that
chinny
they
bangers.
can hurt people and be hurt.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a few chinny bangers over the years, and they're both chinny bangers. So I'd watch that fight, yeah, all day. I think that's got knockdowns written all over it. Big. They're both very wild as well, aren't they? They're both wild. They'll both come to have it. They both don't like each other. I think that's a great fight.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Osh, we could sit here chewing the fat about boxing all night, but we'll
Yeah.
get back to yourself to close off. It's fight week ahead of the final fight. A couple of things that I want to get from you before we close off. As your time as a boxer, whether it be on the unlicensed circuit, as your time as a pro or amateur, what's the single moment that stands above all else, Osh, in terms of your favourite moment as a boxer?
Oh, I've had so many highs. I've been so fortunate to have so many great nights, days with boxing. I do get the feeling this Saturday will be a personal highlight for me. One highlight I have, and it'll always be, will be making a professional debut on a big, massive show, on a big, massive card. It was I believe it was televised. Actually, it was a great. I was on the same show as Sam Hyde, Juma, which was Fight of the Year or voted Fight of the Year. Superb fight. I've been so fortunate to be on a card like that, do the press conferences. That will always my family and friends there, and I think for me, like I touched on earlier, I went through such a bad time when I was in Manchester where I thought boxing was done. To be making my pro debut on a card like that was a dream come true. I always watch my interview after the fight, and you can see it in my face, the emotion and that, and that'll always stick with me. That'll always stick with me as a great time in my life and a great moment. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant, Osh. It's really, really nice to hear. But it's always a pleasure, Osh. I'm sure we'll catch up many times in the future. Watch this space in terms of a couple of podcast ideas me and Osh have got cooking up at the minute. But for now, Osh, thanks for your time. I wish you the very best of luck on Saturday and go get the job done, mate.
Can I just say thank you for having me, Luke? It's nice to be back. It's nice to be, chatting to you again, to the team, to SimBoxx. Thank you to my friends and family and everyone who's bought a ticket for this fight. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you, mate. Thank you.
Brilliant. We'll speak soon, mate. All the best.